Hi, it's Val for another project. This time I'm in my parents' home in the south of France. My dad and I have delayed the installation of this wall water fountain since last summer. So it's about time we tackle this today. This video is going to show you exactly how we installed this wall water fountain. It used to be just a black hose and a valve, and this is so much better now. This was at my mom's request, and I think it was really worth the trouble of installing it because it makes such a huge difference in my parents' garden. This one is going to be a little different because, if I'm being honest, my dad is going to be doing the bulk of the work, and I'm just gonna be sitting here looking pretty behind the camera. I'm gonna be focusing on gathering footage for you guys, so let me roll the tape and show you exactly how we installed this fountain. So we have these two blocks that are mimicking stone. It's sort of a composite material and it looks really good for a very decent price. We were not willing to splurge for real stone, but of course you could get your hands on an actual real stone wall fountain if you wanted. Last year at the end of the nice season we removed these tiles because the goal is to have a tiny hose here running down and ending under the fake grass. There is water access already. Here on the wall there used to be just a faucet to refill water tanks, and the water hose also feeds this super nice water hose that you can pull out. It's pretty long, and with this you can pretty much access the entire garden. Here we go. This was installed last summer, and now we are going to install the little fountain. It will look so much better than what we used to have, which was basically just this black hose and a faucet at the end here. It was here on the wall. We just need a little bit of room, so we're just going to create a tiny opening on this wall here all the way down so that the stone can lean against the wall, flush against the wall, and the hose will fit in that tiny teeny opening. Then we'll also have the same thing to do here, which is a tiny opening on the dirt, and that will be for the water evacuation because this thing here has a tiny hole. It's not going to be that much water that needs to be going down the drain, but having this will prevent overflowing in case someone forgets to close the faucet. There's just going to be water spills or things like that. And we are starting off with the plumbing. The first thing we needed to do was to separate the water inlet from the existing setup. So you can see my dad here unplug the extension hose and separating the valve from the water inlet. And then we are making room to install a T-shape connector. Here, the existing hose was protected with this layer that we need to remove in order to install the piece as close to the ground as possible, because the horizontal hose going around the house will need to run under the existing tiles. We're using plumber's tape to seal the connecting pieces together. There is a right and wrong direction to do this. You want to make sure that you go in the direction in which it will be tightened. Otherwise, going against it is just not going to be sealed. And we purchased the different pieces of plumbing last year. We're going to need a T-shape to have one hose feeding the fountain and the other going horizontally all the way around the corner of the house. We're simply taking measurements here to figure out the exact position of the T connector before cutting the hose open. We used the existing connection we had, which has a gasket and an O-ring. Under the tightening, the O-ring is going to expand and really seal the connector. Let's put the plumbing aside for a minute. In order to create the necessary opening on the wall, we're going to use different tools, some power tools, some sort of a crowbar. We had two main layers, the rough cast and the cement blocks. The rough cast was pretty thin, so we had to also tackle the cement blocks.
Ah, ben il y a une trou. Ah, ben oui.
Donc c'est des agglos.
For the hose running around the corner of the house to feed the other water supply, my dad removed the heavy tiles for me, and then I was left with digging a little trench against the wall. It doesn't have to be too big, but I'm just removing some sand off of the sand layer in order to create a big enough space for the hose to simply lay underneath the tiles. The corner had to be a little bigger because the corner piece is thicker than the hose. Back to plumbing, we are installing now the vertical hose that will feed the fountain. This connector is a third different type. I'm not too sure which one it is. I am just at this point looking at my dad work hard. He's now measuring the right height for the hose and we'll be installing the last connector at the top here. And we'll be adding the plumbing tape to the connectors. I love how easy it is to see the progress on these kind of projects. Now he's doing more measurements, more cutting, and more connecting the different pieces.
Voilà. Là on est bon. Hein.
Voilà. Là,
Là, on est bon de chez bon. Hein.
C'est là, comme ça, là.
It's now time to tackle the valve that is required for the other side because with the summer heat, the plastic hose could explode under pressure, so we need the valve. So much progress. We're just gonna test now, put the water back on, make sure that there is no leak before we put the tiles back on.
Ouais, ça va. Et toi, ça va?
Ça va bien, toi?
Et moi, ça va.
We're going to use these metal pieces to secure the vertical hose against the wall. And that is basically how the fountain is also going to be secured against the wall itself, because the fountain is connected to the hose and the hose is secured in the wall.
Voilà. Un coup de marteau. Oui, voilà. Voilà.
I really had the easy job here because I am working on the trench and I'm not even doing it. I think my dad took over. Honestly, kudos to my dad. Give him some love in the comments because he worked so hard. Yesterday we did so much. We need to work on the tile on which the fountain is going to be sitting on. We need to cut the tile. My dad found the right tool for it. So as you can see, we installed the hose all the way around. For this water access here, we did all of the plumbing and made sure that it was going to be the right size and the right fit. So we do need to cut two tiles. We need to cut the tile that's going to be here, that will have the valve and access to this hose, and we need to cut the tile here on which the fountain is going to be sitting on. But yes, so much progress. And then once we're done with the cutting, we can just put the tiles back. They are just sitting on a layer of sand. It is very stable because underneath there is a layer of concrete. So we did dig a little trench here for the water to drip all the way there. We're not intending on having so much water go down the drain. This is just literally to fill water tanks or just very, very briefly rinse your hands. It's not going to have that much water.
Ouais, voilà. Je pense que c'est bien.
So on this power tool, we had to switch the blade to a diamond blade in order to cut the tiles. It wasn't big enough, so we had to mark and cut on both sides and just hammer the piece to detach it from the tile.
Ah ben voilà. Voilà. On fait ça bien. Ouais. Voilà. Super.
We've got one last modification to the tile under the fountain, and that is to drill a hole for the water to drain through the little trench that we created.
Ta-ta-ta.
Ta 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 ta. Splash. Ouais!
Gagné.
Super, papou!
All that was left before we could admire the finished product was to replace the remaining tiles, filling the holes between the wall and the tiles with some sand that we collected and spraying the whole thing with water to remove any dust or marks. And we are done. This thing is such a nice feature for our large garden. It can be moved around in different ways, so you can really go wherever you need. The main side of the garden is going to be over there, so having the valve on this wall instead of the wall facing the garden is so much better because it's nice and tucked away. You can't really see it anymore, so you really have the nice water fountain on that side and the more utilitarian water inlet on this side. It just makes for an easier watering throughout the entire garden now. Just a little peek at next week's video. So this was a family ordeal, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It was my mom's idea and my dad and I execution. The result is awesome. We actually also are going to have to install the entire garden for the nice season. That's going to be next video, so stay tuned to watch a nice garden transformation with all of the furniture installed, the 2 other fountains that need to be serviced, the swimming pool cleaning, that kind of thing. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us today. Moments like this are honestly so precious to me, to just be hanging out with my parents and do little things here and there to help them out is truly important, and I'm really grateful that I get to spend some time with them. So if you want to see the whole garden transformation, make sure to subscribe and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.